Plugin of the week comes from Softube. It's the Weiss Exciter. This is a mastering grade exciter with a lot of really cool features. So Weiss, in collaboration with Softube, has come up with a separate device. So this does not exist in hardware form, at least not as of the recording of this video. But it's a very cool plugin that allows you to do mastering grade exciting. You can also use it in a non-mastering grade mode when you want to get aggressive with the settings. Primarily, they describe the difference between an exciter and like a normal saturator is that the content you're creating is more in the high frequency spectrum. There are many things people call exciters. I don't know if there's an exact definition. A lot of them require a lot of compression and equalization sort of run through it as a way of kind of creating, this sort of super dense, sort of high frequency information. And there are more subtle ways that you can use it. And we'll kind of dive into a little bit of a couple of the ways that you can go about using this particular one. And it's a really, really good one. So we'll check it out. So primarily what we have is a display area here that's going to show us the content that's being added. So there's a red line that will come up that will show us the exciter energy that's being created. Here in this sort of blue-green area, this will decide the area that's actually generating the harmonic content. So this is what will be feeding into the saturation engine. And then there's a filter area down here in red, which can be adjusted, that allows you to decide what harmonic information is added into the signal, so you can filter it out. So as you go through the harmonic generation process, if the lowest frequency is 2K, then 4K would be the beginning of harmonically generated material. Right? And so you could filter off everything below that. But it may be that you want to kind of filter off higher than that, right? And so to use this as the content generation, but shape it in such a way that you get the character or sound that you're looking for. And we'll demonstrate that. There's a bypass control down at the bottom. When you apply it, it can be ganged, so left and right will be identical. Otherwise, the left and right channel can be done differently. If you operate in MS mode, then this will become side information. This will become the center information. And again, you could do them together in MS mode or separately in stereo, however. The harmonics knob here, this will determine how much you're actually driving the signal into the saturation engine. If you hit the subtle key, what it will do is the subtle button will drop the signal level feeding into the saturation. So generally, this is a multicolored LED that shows up. As you drive the saturation, it'll go yellow, orange, red. When it goes to red, if it goes there occasionally, you're probably pretty close to the right area. If it's there all the time, then you're going to get a far more aggressive, noisy kind of exciter effect. And maybe that's exactly what you're looking for. But you can drive it up to the point where you're primarily in, yellow territory, occasionally in red, and that's usually like a good place to be in. There's also second order harmonics which can be added in, which will add a little bit of a smoothness to it, because sometimes the harmonics that are generated can, kind of get a little edgy, so that gives you some control over it. There also is a settings panel here, which is related to some of these effects, so we're going to go back and take a look at that. There's the exciter amount. So whatever you generate, here you determine how much of it you're adding in, okay? Then there are filters. So this area here can either be a sort of soft filter or a steep filter, basically bandpass. And linear phase mode is an interesting one. Now, linear phase mode will keep the harmonic generated content phase accurate. So when we're working in linear phase mode, what happens is that the original source material, because the exciter content is added in addition to the regular audio content, when you're in linear phase mode, what it will do is it will keep the regular audio signal completely as is, and then it will do its best to line up the phase of the harmonically generated material that's added in. If you're in mastering mode, what it does is it suppresses the harmonic content that happens to line up with fundamental frequencies that already exist in the dry program material. I say dry because it's like if it's a stereo mix, there's wet content in there, obviously. But whatever frequency content is in there, if it's in there, it will suppress that harmonically generated content that's the same frequency. So it'll just sort of fill in the spaces in between. So when we hit this, you'll notice the amount of frequency exciter content that's added drops significantly. Obviously, you would use that for mastering mode. Hitting the monitor switch will allow you to monitor the harmonically generated content. You could also take that harmonically generated content. So this width control does not work on the dry signal, or the source signal is maybe the better way to put it. But you can take the harmonic content and widen it, right? And that can add, actually it has a little bit of effect of adding some depth to the sound. Or you can mono it up, right? So that gives you the ability to sort of decide where you want that information. Because maybe that added content with a little bit of width on it kind of gives a little bit more of openness, lifts the top end a little bit. There's a cog here over on the left, and this determines the harmonic mode. So there's a soft knee harmonic generation, a hard knee, right? So that would be more aggressive. And then there's two other poly modes. Poly will only generate third order harmonics. Poly 5 will generate third and fifth order harmonics. When you add second harmonic content, it defaults at a 30%, but you can mix this in at whatever percentage that you want, or whatever percentage sounds best. So this will kind of, as I said, add a little bit of a warming effect into it. So it might smooth out a bit of the harmonic generation. The subtle gain, so when you hit the subtle switch, how much does it drop the signal level going into the harmonic generation engine? So you can make it 3 dB, you can make it 10 dB, whatever you want. Okay. Adaptive mode. Adaptive mode keeps the harmonics relevant regardless of the signal level. So often what happens when you apply a saturation of any kind is that when the signal is low level, you're getting very little content created. And when the signal level is high, for more dynamic program material, it will generate more harmonic distortion. So with an exciter, that would lead to a duller sound in the quieter sections and a more aggressive sound in the louder sections, maybe distorted. And what the adaptive mode does is it keeps it even. So if the program material is lower in level, it will generate the same basic harmonic content as if when it's in higher level, and that will keep more consistency. The graph range is just a display here. I have it set to 6, but you could set it to 12 dB. It's just like when you see the little bubble go up of harmonic generated content. This is like 6 dB, or all the way up there would be 6, or we can make it 12 or 18. So just like any other display. And then there is an analyzer tilt in terms of compensating for the frequency content. If you're doing separate channels, the ability to copy channel 1 to 2 or copy channel 2 to 1 sometimes is like a convenient way to kind of get around duplicating the same settings and then compensating and adjusting them independent of each other. So maybe you want to drive a little bit more exciter into the sides, but you want to start from the same basic place with your filter range and all of those sorts of things. So it would copy all of the settings over. This little headphone thing here just turns on the monitor, so it's basically just a duplicate of that. Otherwise, you have all of the other sort of settings that for tooltips and a bunch of other things, A, B, C, D buttons. You got all the side displays. This is nice if you need to bring down the level output if it's a little higher, etc., etc. Okay. That's basically it. So let's start with some audio examples. I'm just going to start with, let's see, I'll start with a basic mix here of music. And we'll start with like a little bit of a full frequency thing, and then we'll kind of go to some individual instruments and see what we can slap together here. So by default, it starts with a 2K to 6K range. Let's keep it in mastering mode, linear phase, and let's drive it a little bit, and let's just see what we have here. Calling out, reaching out. Okay, so just to kind of get like a subtle, presence energy in. This is just with default settings, and obviously we can kind of tweak it in and kind of dial it in a little bit. Let's start with some drums though, and kind of work through some of the other stuff here, just so we can kind of get a little bit of a better sense of what we can do with it. So here, if we're working with drums, first I could decide like, well, what area do I want to add harmonic content to? Right? And how do I want to add it? So I'll take this off here. Let's take the mastering setting off, and let's kind of get a little bit more aggressive with it to begin with. So let's start with this. And let's go there to some drums here. Let's see. Right, and now just to add like the linear phase here just for a second, or I could do the more subtle version. So this is more of a tighter bandpass filter. Let's do a softer one here. Right, so the linear phase actually helps quite a lot. Just to kind of make it more well, obviously phase coherent, right? It seems to add like a nice depth to everything, right? The second level harmonics that I added in there, that's just adding like how much warmth do I kind of want to bring into that, or smoothness do I want to bring into that once I sort of drag it in. Right? So pretty straightforward. We could use this also on something like a bass. We could use it on acoustic guitars. With the bass, I would probably want to go down lower, but let's just see if I drag this down here. Maybe kind of pull this into the 1K range. So I want to extend this downward here. You could also double click on this to kind of type in the number, right? So if I double click on this, I could just make this 1,000. Right? Oops, whatever I typed in. I think I typed in 100. Let me just see if I can do that. There we go. And then maybe I bring down the top end of this. All right. Let's just sort of start here. Right, so maybe I want to drive a little bit more presence energy. Let me kind of bring this up a little bit, get a little bit more air. I can kind of, let's see, bring this up to like 4K here. Let me go down a little lower here. So let's bring in some vocals here. This would be the other thing where you would want to really dive in a bit. All right, so let's just see what we got here.
Running fast, burning dark.
Start with a single vocal here.
Calling out, reaching out. I can't wait to see your face. Running free from reality. I'm on my way to be with you.
All right, so I had already kind of dialed this one in here. See, from like 1K to 6K, linear phase, more in mastering mode, and then I can always add more in, but this will give me kind of a smoother thing. But particularly with the vocals, you would want to be in a linear phase mode. But let's kind of mix it in here. Let's see.
Calling out, reaching out. I can't wait to see your face. Running free from reality. I'm on my way to be with you. To be with you. With you. With you. Running fast.
Right, so I think you can hear like what basically does, and all of the options that you have, particularly the linear phase and mastering modes, are really amazing. The different filter shaping, the exciter amount, how much you could drive. If you start to experiment with some of the other for more aggressive settings, when you start experimenting with the hard and poly settings, you could get definitely more aggressive processing, more aggressive saturation or distortion from it. Obviously, you could drive more of the harmonics from the panel over here, take away the subtle effect. You can really dig in and get a lot out of something. There's a lot of flexibility with it, especially with the filter, the way that this is set up for the creation of the content, and then how much of that content that you want to allow to kind of cut through in the mix. Really powerful tool. I've fallen in love with this thing like right away. So really cool one. Definitely worth checking out. Softube always makes great stuff. This is certainly no exception, and all of their Weiss stuff is top notch. That's all, mostly straight right off the hardware, which is amazing. It's been in mastering studios forever, and for a reason. So this is a really cool one. Whether you're doing mastering work, whether you're doing mixing work, and just looking for like a nice detailed exciter that gives you a lot of flexibility and options, more so than the sort of most typical exciters, which are very limited in terms of what they do. It's like it either works or it doesn't. This really gives you a lot of flexibility to do things that you just can't do with a normal exciter. And that's why it's plugin of the week. Check it out. Softube, Weiss Exciter.